I'm joined in the studio now by the political analyst Marco Vicenzino. Very good evening to you, Marco. Terrorism, so taking centre stage at the G-20 tonight. Obviously, it would normally be an economic summit, but we're hearing that President Obama promising renewed effort to eliminate the so-called Islamic State, and Obama and Putin working, or speaking at least on the sidelines, about what happened in Paris. Are we at any point over the next week or so likely to see some kind of grand alliance forming here against the Islamic State?
The term grand alliance is too strong a word. What happens is the Paris attacks provides an opening. It could serve as a catalyst and a rapprochement, and bringing diverging sides with diverging interests, bringing them closer together in order to come together against ISIS. It won't be a grand alliance. Basically what you have here is even yesterday was an important stepping stone. On Saturday, there was the Vienna conference about solving the situation in Syria, and that's key. Basically, at that conference, all sides came together, and they before January 1st, both the Assad regime and the opposition tentatively were supposed to get together and have eventually at some point some sort of unity government, some sort of ceasefire, and elections at some stage. This is very broad, but at least there's some form of a roadmap being discussed. Obviously, sticking points like the situation with Assad and his future, or exactly who constitutes the opposition at the table, that's yet to be determined.
And this situation, I mean, there's a very particular momentum from Russia. Obviously, Moscow has got to say over the next few days, one would think that, yes, indeed, we agree, it was an affiliate of IS that brought down our passenger plane. Now there has been the Paris attack, so I'm suggesting there a particular momentum from those two countries. Do you think that we'll ever see perhaps French boots on the ground or Russian boots on the ground? And if not that, are we going to see at least major strikes from the Americans and Russia and France on Raqqa, which of course is the IS headquarters?
Firstly, Russian boots are already on the ground. Secondly, French boots, highly unlikely. American boots are arriving, 50 advisors to advise the Kurds, the YPG in northern Syria. Basically, all these factors are, it's piecemeal approach. It's not a united international approach. It's not there's the international anti-ISIS coalition formed by the United States and several other countries, and then on the other side you have Russia, Iran, and the Assad regime. So still the pieces are not in place. And even if strikes in Raqqa take place, eventually air power is only limited in what it can do. Obviously, if it's not accompanied by a strong ground presence, it'll have little impact. For example, if you want a perfect example, look at American air power supporting the Kurds in Sinjar, in the takeover of Sinjar in recent days. That's a perfect example how things can work. Reliable partners on the ground with international air power.
I note as well that tonight President Erdogan in Turkey says it's time that people woke up to the threat. I mean, that's a bit cheeky from him. The fact is that he opened up the airports there to NATO, only in July. We'll put that to the side. But President Hollande today and yesterday seeming to at least lay the ground for the invocation of this NATO Article 5. Any attack on a NATO country is an attack on the rest. That momentum's building, isn't it?
Invocation of Article 5 took place on September 11, 2001 with the attacks in New York and Washington. That's what called for, gave permission for the forces, the U.S. forces and the coalition eventually to go into Afghanistan. So will it take place now? I think it's too premature, but I think it was a big attack. It was a huge attack, but maybe not one to warrant that. And if that happens, and then everyone is obligated to do something against ISIS, and which everyone already is. Everyone is doing in this coalition in NATO countries. Many are contributing different elements, but it's not a strong presence yet in the way it needs to be fought. Like I said, it's too many diverging interests and too much of a piecemeal approach, what reflects that interest.
Noting as well tonight that in Vienna, the Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov agreeing that global powers had now to work together to confront Islamic State. Obviously, we've been speaking about this over the past couple of minutes or so, but that's an interesting statement from him as well, isn't it?
There's been roughly 500 people, internationals, that have been killed by ISIL. You've had the attackers in Turkey, over 100 killed in Ankara. You have the Russian airliner, if it happens to be an ISIS attack, which it appears to be. You have the attacks in Paris, over 100 dead now, 130 probably now. And you're looking at the recent recent days, the attack in Beirut, in a suburb in Beirut, over 40 dead. So everyone is being impacted, and everyone has a common interest in defeating them, but getting them to the table and doing it in united fashion is still not there because of the diverging interests.
Do you think, just as a last question, do you think that the West has been far too weak here, that the politicians have been weak, that President Obama has been weak and that David Cameron has been weak? They've told us time and time again that the so-called Islamic State constitute a clear and present danger. Okay, there have been airstrikes, obviously, over the past few months or so, but hardly enough to degrade and defeat the Islamic State as we have been promised. And all the time, the Islamic State has time in that vacuum to plan, and strategize. Have they just got it wrong, and now this is a game changer?
Once again, it's an ad hoc policy, a policy on the fly, you call it strategy on the fly, because I use that word diverging interests. For example, Turkey, their main concern is the Kurdish issue. The Russians want to preserve the Assad regime. The Americans, it's ISIS. So it's very complicated to the point. And then you add in the factor of the experience of the Iraq war. And Cameron and Obama in particular fear quagmire. They fear being stuck in Iraq. That's why there's going to be a public reaction if there are boots on the ground the way there are in Iraq. So the Iraq experience haunts both leaders.
That's it. And perhaps, though, that this whole situation in Paris will change that perspective. But anyway, thank you, Marco Vicenzino, at least for the meantime.